Welcome, curious minds. Have you ever, found yourself wondering what secrets really lie hidden in the shadows of government?
Mm-hmm.
What if some of the, most sensational claims about unidentified flying objects or UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, as we call them now, aren't just like wild theories,
Right.
but maybe part of a really complex reality unfolding right before our eyes? Today, we're diving headfirst into a stack of sources that, frankly, might challenge everything you thought you knew.
That's right. We've pulled together a pretty fascinating collection here. Recent congressional testimony, some sharp academic analysis, historical records. It all shines a light on a topic once, pulls to the fringe.
Totally.
In this deep dive, it isn't just about weird stuff in the sky. It's really about the layers of secrecy, how information itself is controlled, and frankly, the huge questions this all raises about, well, the universe and our place in it.
Our mission today is basically to give you a shortcut, get you well informed, pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the surprising facts from all this material.
Yeah, distill it down.
Exactly. So get ready for some aha moments, I think, because we're about to unpack some really extraordinary claims.
Let's do it.
So first off, how has this whole conversation around UAPs changed so much so quickly? It feels like it's gone from, I don't know, sci-fi conventions to the halls of Congress.
It's a massive shift.
What's driving that?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is the who. Who's talking now? For decades, it was mostly civilian researchers, right? And sometimes they were easily dismissed.
Right, the sort of tinfoil hat image, unfairly or not.
Exactly. But now we're hearing from decorated military veterans, high-ranking intelligence officials, people who've held TSSCI clearances, managed secret programs, their credentials alone, the way they talk about national security, potential intelligence failures. It just forces a different kind of conversation.
Absolutely. And you had figures like Luis Elizondo playing a big role there. He said he ran the Pentagon's ATIP program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
Which was a real program, yes.
A real thing. And he resigned back in 2017, citing excessive secrecy and internal opposition. What was it about him that really kicked things off? He pushed the term UAP over UFO.
He did, and that was key. Elizondo worked hard to destigmatize it. He framed it as a national security issue, saying the lack of understanding was, quote, an intelligence failure eclipsing that of 9/11. Strong words.
Wow.
He talked about the capabilities being beyond next generation. That makes people sit up and listen. And crucially, he wasn't alone. You had Christopher Mellon, a real Washington insider.
Mellon, decades in the intelligence community, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence.
That's him. He was apparently instrumental in getting those 3 Navy videos,
Right.
FLIR-1, the Tic Tac one, Gimbal, and Go Fast to the New York Times in 2017.
And those weren't just stories. That was sensor data, hard data from advanced fighters.
Precisely. It created undeniable public and political pressure. You couldn't just ignore it anymore.
Okay, and that sort of set the stage for maybe the biggest bombshell testimony, right? David Grusch.
Ugh. Yes, Grusch.
Yeah.
Decorated combat veteran, former Air Force intelligence officer, worked at NGA, NRO, high-level stuff.
His background alone is significant.
It really is. And he comes before Congress under oath and makes these, well, staggering claims.
Staggering is the word. A multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
He claims he was told by numerous current and former senior intelligence officials that the U.S. has multiple craft of non-human origin.
Some intact, some partially intact.
And even biologics, which he clarified meant non-human biologics.
Okay, so what makes that testimony so powerful, even though we haven't, seen the alleged craft publicly?
Well, it's the detail, the number of alleged high-level sources he cited, and the fact it was all under oath. He described how this stuff is supposedly hidden in these unacknowledged special access programs, USAPs.
Super secret programs.
So secret that even many officials with high clearances might not know they exist or what they're really about. He even suggested they're funded through misappropriation of government funds.
And he said he personally was denied access, right? Despite his clearances, and faced, what did he call it, very brutal retaliation, administrative terrorism.
Yes, that's what he alleged. Which raises a big question, doesn't it? If this is all true, why did AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office Congress, set up put as big? Why did they say they haven't found any verifiable information about possession or reverse engineering of extraterrestrial materials.
It sounds like a flat contradiction.
It does on the surface, but Grusch had an answer for that. He basically suggested it's a case of the government's left hand not knowing what the extreme right hand is doing. That these UAP activities are buried inside other secret access programs, maybe conventional ones, without the proper reporting lines to people like those at AARO.
So it's a classification issue or a structural one.
Potentially both.
Yeah.
And it becomes a word game. Notice AARO denied extraterrestrial materials. Grusch used non-human. Maybe that leaves room.
Interesting. Semantics matter.
They matter a lot in that world. This dance of denial and disclosure, it's not exactly new. And to really get the current situation, you have to look back a bit at the history of government secrecy. And, well, one name always comes up.
Area 51.
Area 51. For so many people, that's ground zero for government secrecy, alien conspiracies, the whole mythology.
But what is it, really?
Officially, it's a highly classified U.S. Air Force facility, part of the Nevada Test and Training Range, also known as Homey Airport, Groom Lake.
And the CIA apparently called it Paradise Ranch back in the 50s. Seriously.
Yeah, kind of an ironic name to try and get people to work out there in the new facility in the middle of nowhere, as they put it in 55.
So it wasn't built for aliens. It was for spy planes, right? U-2OX card.
Exactly. Advanced aircraft testing. They even captured Soviet MiGs there in secret programs later on.
Okay, but here's the twist, right? How does that connect to UFOs?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. A lot of the early UFO sightings in the late 50s to 60s, they were probably caused by these very programs.
Our own stuff.
Yeah. The U-2 flew incredibly high, over 60,000 feet. Airliner pilots back then are way lower, maybe below 20,000 feet. So they'd see this thing way up high, reflecting sunlight.
Looking fiery or strange.
Exactly. And they'd report it to Project Blue Book, not knowing it was, cutting-edge U.S. tech. Veterans from those programs have actually confirmed this, that their work unintentionally fueled a lot of the UFO rumors.
So the intense secrecy needed to protect those programs kind of backfired, in a way. It created the perfect conditions for speculation.
Precisely. The secrecy itself became the story. It wasn't just about protecting legitimate secrets anymore. It created this vacuum that got filled with theories about crashed saucers, aliens, reverse engineering. Area 51 became a magnet for it all.
And that historical context is important. The way that legitimate secrecy accidentally created the breeding ground for these conspiracies. It shapes how people see UAP claims even today.
Absolutely. That pattern of secrecy, even when justified, breeds distrust. You saw it amplified later, too, like that 1988 TV show, UFO Cover-Up, live, pushing the whole Majestic 12 thing.
Which is widely seen as a hoax now, right?
Generally considered a fabrication, yes. But it linked Area 51 and aliens in the public mind. Then you had Bob Lazar in '89 claiming he worked at a site near Area 51S4, reverse engineering alien craft. True or not, those stories just cemented Area 51's place in the lore.
And the government's own actions sometimes didn't help matters, like that lawsuit in '94, contractors suing over chemical exposure at Groom Lake.
Right, and the government invoked state secrets privilege. President Clinton issued an exemption for the site from environmental disclosure laws.
Which, okay, might have been unrelated to aliens, maybe about the stealth materials or something.
Possibly. But the action itself, the intense clampdown, just reinforced the idea that something big was being hidden there. It feeds the narrative.
Yeah, like that memo about handling F-117 materials, the stealth fighter that popped up on a USAF website years later and then quickly got taken down.
Exactly. That pattern of intense secrecy, even on non-alien stuff, just creates this background radiation of public distrust. It inevitably contributes to the belief in deeper conspiracies.
So, for you listening, trying to make sense of all this, understanding this history is key. That legacy of secrecy, even for valid reasons, affects how we process any new information about UAPs today. It's the filter we're looking through.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got the whistleblowers today, the history of places like Area 51. But let's get to the so what. Why should you care about all these UAP revelations? What are the actual real-world implications here?
Well, the national security angle is probably the most immediate concern. Think about Commander David Fravor's testimony. The Tic Tac incident in 2004.
Right, off the California coast.
He saw an object drop from 80,000 feet to 20,000 feet almost instantly, hovered for hours, then shot straight back up. His words, far superior to anything that we have today or looking to develop in the next 10 years.
That's a decorated Navy pilot saying that about something unidentified.
And it wasn't just speed. He said it jammed his squadron's radar, the APG-73 top-of-the-line stuff.
And no wings, no visible propulsion, no heat signature.
Nothing conventional. Then you have LT Ryan Graves describing those dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere.
Yeah, those were weird. Stationary in hurricane winds, then supersonic speeds. A non-aerodynamic shape doing Mach 2.
It just defies our understanding of physics and aerodynamics. These aren't just blips. They're objects demonstrating capabilities we can't replicate or, frankly, even fully explain.
And then there's the nuclear connection?
Yes, that's particularly concerning. There are multiple accounts, some now quite well documented, of UAPs showing interest in nuclear facilities, military bases, missile silos.
And not just interest, right, interference.
There are reports suggesting they might have the ability to disable our nuclear systems. One former intelligence official mentioned this possibility, and interestingly, he also cited a KGB report from the brief post-Cold War thaw, suggesting they might have activated Russian nukes briefly.
Activated them. Wow, okay, that's unsettling. Global stability implications there.
Definitely. But that same former intel officer made an interesting point. He called UAPs a national security issue, but maybe not necessarily a threat.
How did he distinguish that?
His argument was, we see the capability, which is concerning, but the intent is unknown. He used an analogy finding size 12 muddy boot prints in your living room.
Okay.
It's alarming. You want to know how they got there, who they belong to, but it doesn't automatically mean you're about to be attacked. It's the unknown nature of the intent that makes it an issue, rather than a confirmed threat.
That's a useful distinction, but how do you figure out intent when there's so much secrecy and apparently pushback against finding out?
And that leads straight into the challenge for government transparency and public trust. The congressional hearing showed real bipartisan frustration. Lawmakers feeling they were being stonewalled, facing overclassification.
Members of Congress saying they couldn't get access, undermining oversight. Some called it a cover-up.
Yeah. When the people constitutionally responsible for oversight feel shut out, that seriously erodes public trust.
And that lack of transparency, it has real safety implications too, doesn't it, for pilots?
Absolutely. Historically, military and even commercial pilots faced huge stigma reporting UAPs. You could be grounded, lose your clearance, risk your career.
So they just wouldn't report it.
Leading to underreporting.
Mm-hmm.
A dearth of data, as one witness termed it. We're potentially missing crucial safety information because of that stigma. We're flying blind, in a sense.
And this isn't just an American thing, is it? You mentioned the KGB report.
No, it's global. Think about the Colares incident in Brazil back in the late 70s. Hundreds of witnesses, reports of injuries from directed energy. The military got involved.
Or the Tehran incident in '78, an Iranian F-4 trying to engage an object and its systems got disabled.
Right. These kinds of events happen worldwide,
Yeah.
and the lack of clear official explanations just fuels distrust everywhere.
Okay, so let's shift slightly. Beyond security and trust, what about the nature of the phenomenon itself? That former intel officer advocated using the term non-human intelligence, not just aliens. Why?
He argued it helps keep our aperture open. Don't just assume they're extraterrestrials from another planet.
So what are the other possibilities he was suggesting?
He floated ideas like maybe they're not from outer space, but inner space. Like deep under our oceans, we've mapped less than 10% of them, remember?
True.
Or maybe it relates to something even stranger, like multidimensional realities, the holographic principle, really mind-bending physics concepts.
Suggesting our 3D reality might be a projection. Wow. Why is it important to think that broadly?
Because it forces us to confront our anthropocentric bias, our tendency to assume everything thinks and acts like humans, values what we value.
Like assuming any advanced intelligence must travel in metal ships from other solar systems.
Yeah, exactly. He compared it to how recently we discovered microorganisms. They're the dominant life form on Earth, but we couldn't perceive them for most of human history. Maybe technology is now letting us perceive a reality that's been here all along.
Like tuning into a new frequency. Something like that. Our senses only pick up a tiny sliver of reality. Maybe there's much more going on. Thinking only in terms of aliens might be too limiting.
What an incredible journey we've taken here. Through the maze of UAPs, government secrecy, Area 51 history, and these hints of maybe non-human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
From those old Nevada test sites to today's congressional hearings, it definitely feels like we're in a moment of unprecedented push for transparency, maybe even a paradigm shift.
I think so. The testimony we're seeing now from credible military and intel folks backed by actual sensor data, it really challenges our basic ideas about technology, physics, maybe even our place in the cosmos.
Even if the hard physical proof is still, apparently classified or locked away.
Right. But the consistency and credibility of the accounts, they demand attention. They demand critical thinking.
And we've seen how that lack of transparency, that culture of secrecy, sometimes for understandable reasons, sometimes maybe not, how it breeds distrust, stifles reporting, and could hide real national security issues.
The whole conversation about UAPs, it feels like it's moving beyond just do you believe. It's becoming about facts, about data, about oversight, and fundamentally our right to know what our government knows.
Well put.
Yeah.
So maybe for you, the listener, here's a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
In this absolutely immense universe, full of complexities we're only beginning to grasp, where even our own planet has vast unexplored depths and undiscovered life. What if the biggest discoveries about intelligence, whether it's human or, well, other, aren't waiting out there in the distant stars? What if they're found by looking closer, right here, with a truly open mind, at the phenomena on Earth that maybe, just maybe, we've been conditioned or told to ignore for far too long?
That's definitely something to think about. Keep those critical thinking caps on, everyone. Stay curious, keep asking questions.
Always more to learn.
Absolutely. This deep dive into the unknown, it feels like it's really just beginning.